Onizuka was an ugly loser with nothing going on for him, but his life changes when he confesses his love to his childhood crush. Surprisingly, she agrees to date him and their forbidden relationship starts. Dahlia Academy is a prestigious boarding institute where students of the eastern nation of Tawa and the Principality of the West study side by side. However, the students from the Tawa student dorm, also known as Black Doggy House, and West student dorm known as White Cat's House, are locked in confrontation day in and day out. Outside of the school, the two groups of students are confronting each other. The ones wearing black blazers are from Black Doggy House and the ones wearing white blazers are from White Cats. Suddenly, a war started between the student groups, and the presidents of both groups, Romeo and Yuzuka and Juliet Persia, decided to face each other. Suddenly, a glasses guy named Scott appears who offers his help to Persia, but this annoys Yuzuka and he punches the poor glasses. As he is about to end his career, Persia intervenes and saves him, saying that she does not need help. Persia then asks Yuzuka to fight her without holding back. However, Yuzuka reveals that he can't go all out against a girl as it will kill his motivation. Suddenly, a voice tells them to stop, and it's no other than the prefect of White Cats. The girl tells to not cause problems in school grounds, to which Yuzuka declines. But she reveals that she is going to have a talk with Black Doggy's prefect, and everyone stops fighting and leaves the ground. Later in class, everyone is planning for their next attack, eagerly anticipating Yuzuka's strategy to defeat Persia for their victory. However, Yuzuka seems a bit off, prompting Hasuki Kamai to approach him, offering comfort. As she entertains Riz thoughts about their interaction, a guy informs her that Yuzuka has left. Yuzuka takes out his frustration outside as he punches the wall, thinking about their first quarrel when they were child and their war goes till now. Thinking all this, Yuzuka is furious and says something really unexpected, that instead of hating her, he is in love with her. Surprisingly, that skinny dude is so strong that he breaks the pillar by just punching it, as he recalls Scott's words to her that he wanted to say. Yuzuka comes up with an idea to confess his love for her, but he soon realizes that it will just create more problems for him. Meanwhile, Persia is sparring with wooden swords and sends the poor man flying, revealing she isn't as weak as she looks. Scott appears with a towel, appreciating her skills, but Persia reveals her aim for higher power to change the world, even though people laugh at her. Suddenly, she gets furious because Yuzuka is getting in her way and tears the towel. Meanwhile, Yuzuka, who is watching all of this from a window, realizes how much Persia hates him. Suddenly, Yuzuka notices some voices of elementary kids of Black Doggy's house getting dragged by White Cat's upperclassmen to Persia. Yuzuka hides and watches everything when the upperclassman tells Persia that the Black Doggy's kids were spraying graffiti on some White Cat's houses. Persia confronts the kids, asking why they would do such a thing, to which one of the kids reveals that he wanted to prove he is also strong and fights White Cats. The upperclassman smacked the kid to the ground, making his nose bleed. Persia tells the kid he is weak, and the kid rushes towards her, so Persia hugs her and then wipes the kid's nose. Watching this reminds Yuzuka why he fell for Persia in the first place. Suddenly, as he is dreaming about her, he notices everyone watching them. The guy gets nervous all over again and is not able to confess his feelings, so he just runs, while Persia thinks that he is just teasing her for being a girl. Meanwhile, three guys watching him, and one of them wearing a freaking gold lock in his ears, is plotting some evil plan, as he reveals that Black Doggies cannot win because of Yuzuka's half-hearted decisions, so they decide to take decisions into their own hands. Later, as Persia is walking alone, suddenly two men wearing bags are about to attack her, but stop because they forgot to put holes into the bag. However, after freaking out a bit, they attack Persia, but she dodges and defeats both of them easily. As she lowers her guard, a voice comes from nearby and the guy pepper sprayed her. The other guys also get up and hold her. Maru gets out of the bush and uses his blade to tear off her clothes, but thankfully Yuzuka rushes in and takes Persia on the other side of the bush. Suddenly, Persia wakes up and runs away crying after seeing Yuzuka. Later at night, when Yuzuka enters Black Doggy's dorm, he is stopped by Maru, Igo, and Tosa, who tells him to talk to them outside, but outside Yuzuka beats the hell out of them even before they can finish up their sentence. Yuzuka is surprised when an arrow thuds into Maru's head, carrying a note from Persia. It's an invitation to meet by the fountain, which confuses him. He goes to see what's up. At the fountain, Persia is emotional, asking if Yuzuka planned the recent attack or if he rescued her. She's in tears, fearing he sees her as weak. Yuzuka then realizes why Persia has been upset before. He thinks back to their childhood and how he's always been gentle with her because she's the Count's only daughter. He does not want her to get a scar and ruin her image. However, this kindness makes Persia feel like he sees her as less capable. Persia has always been one to break the mold and prove she isn't someone to be taken lightly. Wanting to show her his true feelings, Yuzuka challenges her to a duel, promising not to hold back. As they start fighting, Yuzuka gathers his courage and confesses his love for her. Persia is stunned and does not know what to say, so they keep fighting. In the heat of the battle, Yuzuka declares that with her by his side, they can make a difference in the world. His words reach her heart, and Persia proposes a deal. She'll be his girlfriend if he can show her he can indeed change the world. They agree to keep their relationship a secret, acting normally in front of others. With that, their hidden love story begins, deepening their bond as they face the world together. The next day, the usual crap between the black dogs and white cats is going down, but something seems off with Inuzuka. The guy is all smiles, which is weird. When the tussle kicks off, Inuzuka leap right in and casually block Persia's move like it's nothing. Hasuki and Scott picked up on the fact that their bosses are Mia from the Rumble. At the same time, Inuzuka is sneaking off with Persia to a hidden spot. He's hoping to get some alone time with his new girlfriend, but Persia isn't really feeling it and seems eager to split. Inuzuka grabs her hand, ready to spill the beans about his feelings. But just as he's about to confess his love, Hasuki pops out. Caught off guard, Inuzuka switches gears and pretends he's going for his signature move, the Iron Claw, on Persia. This fake out ticks Persia off big time, and she responds with a swift kick that sends Inuzuka flying. Back at the White Cat's place, the girls are getting changed and can't stop praising Persia for taking down Inuzuka, but Persia's got a guilty conscience about it. Once the gang clears out, Persia's all by herself when, out of the blue, she hears someone. To her total shock, it's Inuzuka making his way to the top of the dorm. Persia's first thought is that he's being a creep, but Inuzuka's actually there to show he cares. He tells her he's done his homework and even brought her a present. Before they can get into it, Scott shows up out of nowhere, ready to throw down with Inuzuka. Their scuffle gets out of hand, and they both end up tumbling to the ground. After a while, Inuzuka wakes up and finds himself crashed out in Hasuki's lap. She informs him that their friends went off to seek revenge for him. However, when she looks again, she sees a puppy where Inuzuka was. In a hurry, he rushes to stop the fight, but in the chaos, he accidentally ruins the gift he had chosen for Persia. Frustrated, Inuzuka's temper explodes, and using a piece of a statue, he sends everyone flying into the air. Later that night, Inuzuka can be seen cutting grass at the park. Suddenly, Persia arrives, and he tells her about what happened. Persia suggests they take a boat ride, and the couple enjoys their time together. Suddenly, Persia asks Inuzuka to close his eyes. When he opens them, he's surprised to find her in an awkward position, but she's actually retrieving the broken necklace he bought for her and replaces it with hers. Inuzuka is happy but says something cringy and ends up falling into the lake, so Persia leaves him there. The following morning, Inuzuka is waiting for someone outside the dorm when Hasuki appears and asks to spend some time with her. However, he tells her that he is waiting for someone else, and suddenly a red-haired small boy arrives. Inuzuka tells them that he is just a relative of his named Giulio and they are going for a walk to Dahlia Park. Turns out, Giulio is actually Persia in disguise. Flashback to an old scene where Persia and Inuzuka meets in a confession booth and Inuzuka gives her the disguise so they can go on a date. Suddenly, Scott appears and it looks like he recognizes Persia in disguise, but thankfully they are wrong as he can only smell her nearby. Inuzuka takes a sigh of relief and gets happy that he can finally spend some quality time with his girlfriend. However, everyone thinks Giulio is a great guy and decides to go with them, not leaving them alone for a minute, ruining their plans he had for the day. As they walk through the park, the girls tell Giulio that it's the first time they have seen Inuzuka that happy because he always acts rude with them. Later, as he takes Giulio to a restaurant, he is sad again after seeing that the restaurant is fully booked. With that, they go somewhere else to eat ramen, but Giulio accidentally spills it all over him. Seeing this, Inuzuka tries to pull his pants down but ends up getting a slap from him. Later, as they walk through, Inuzuka comes up with a great idea to go to a horror house, but things do not go as planned when Giulio gets scared and runs away. This depresses Inuzuka as he thinks Persia now hates him since they were not able to have fun on their date. Suddenly, Maru, Igo, and Tosa appear and throw him in the water to take revenge. As Inuzuka is drowning since he does not know how to swim, Giulio comes to his aid, teaches a lesson to Maru, and helps Inuzuka. Later, the couple meets on top of a building, and Inuzuka asks if she hated the date, but she says that even though they were not alone as they had planned, she enjoyed the date because she got to know more about Inuzuka and would love to have more dates with him. Suddenly, Scott appears again, and they end up acting like they are fighting. Under a bridge, Inuzuka tells Persia to be free after 3 days since they will be completing their 1 month together, and Inuzuka wants to celebrate their 1 month anniversary. Listening to this, Persia gives some cold answers and teases Inuzuka for a bit, but soon changes her mind. Inuzuka gets happy, and they are about to hold hands when Scott and Hasuki show up and start pretending to be fighting. The two warn them that the Princess Char is returning to school. Later, an old vintage car is coming towards the academy while Char asks her driver to stop the car. On the other hand, all the white cats are gathered to greet Princess Char. As she walks towards Scott, she asks him to tell her a funny joke. If it isn't funny, she is going to hit him, but when the poor guy is about to say the joke, she hits him anyway. However, Persia also appears and meets her, but it looks like the bratty princess is not satisfied with her welcome, so she asks Inuzuka and his black doggy clan to greet her as well. However, Inuzuka denies her request with a punk attitude. Char teases Inuzuka and says some stuff to make him angry enough that he rushes to punch her, but suddenly stops when she whispers that she knows about their little secret relationship. Although Inuzuka denies it, she pulls out a picture of the couple with Persia and Julio's costume in hand. In exchange for keeping his secret, she says that he should be her faithful dog. She then asks him to massage her shoulders. At first, Inuzuka hesitates, but with no other choice, he obeys and massages her, leading everyone to believe he's doing it out of interest in Char. Later, as they are alone now, she explains to him that whenever she wants, she will call him with a whistle. Afterwards, Inuzuka is relaxing when Persia appears and asks him why he is acting like this in front of Princess Char. Inuzuka is about to tell her everything, but suddenly they hear a whistle. Inuzuka rushes, and as he goes, he asks Persia to wait. Afterward, the poor guy is acting as Char's piggyback ride in front of the whole school. After this, he goes to Persia, but they hear a whistle once again, and this time that brat wants Inuzuka to hunt a deer for her. Later at night, when the poor injured guy gets back to his girlfriend, Char calls him back. This time he decides that he will protect Persia and will find Char's secret that will lead him to his freedom. After spending his whole day getting treated as a puppy, he goes to his dorm. There, he sees his stuff because the black doggers have thrown him out, as they think he is a traitor. Thanks to Hasuki defending, they are not beating him. In the days that follow, he remains Char's pet, plotting to find a weakness that will allow him to regain his freedom. Along the way, he discovers that Persia and Char were childhood friends, although they are no longer talking as they used to. When their anniversary day finally arrives, he comes up with a plan to announce that Char is being called by the principal. He breaks into Char's room to look for some weakness of hers, but it looks like Char is smart as she comes back. She is guessing what he had planned and looks for where he had hidden. Thankfully, there's this hidden spot right behind the mirror, and that's exactly where he tucks himself away. While he's in there, he stumbles upon her secret stash. She has a whole bunch of pictures of Persia, clearly showing she has feelings for her. Seeing all this, Char's eyes well up with tears as she pours her heart out. She tells him how much Persia means to her. She is her most precious person, and the thought of losing her is just too much. Right then, there's a knock at the door. It's Persia, who's supposed to be sharing the room with Char. In a panic with pictures everywhere, Char's in a real bind, but Inuzuka jumps into action. While Char keeps Persia busy with chatter, he's on a mission to gather up all the photos, ducking behind the mirror. Char and Persia have a good talk, patching things up, and they're tight once again. Eventually the coast is clear and Inuzuka finally steps out from his secret hiding spot. When the stars are out, the two sweethearts find themselves by the lake. Inuzuka is all set to spill the beans about what goes down with Char, but Persia cuts in, letting him know she trusts him through and through. Out of the blue, Inuzuka's eyes start to water, and he's just overcome with emotion. Turns out, Persia has mended the necklace he gave her. Seeing her fix something so dear, it just hits him right in the feels. Later, Hasuki just finished getting dressed all while she's got Inuzuka on her mind. Next morning, over at the Black Doggy place, Persia is pretending to be Julio again. This way, she can hang out with Inuzuka and keep up with their study tradition, which Hasuki set up to make sure everyone's ready for the exams. When it's nighttime, Persia sneaks off to her own dorm. Just then, Hasuki pops in, searching for Inuzuka. She's got this feeling he's not telling her everything. Inuzuka tries to brush it off, saying it's nothing, but deep down, he feels pretty lousy for not being straight with her. Right after Hasuki heads out, Char comes out of nowhere and gives Inuzuka a bit of a shock. Char really ticked off about Inuzuka having Persia use some secret tunnel and even pokes fun at him for supposedly being close to Hasuki. However, Inuzuka stands his ground, saying Hasuki's just a friend and nothing more. Char is confused, wondering why Inuzuka doesn't just open up to Hasuki about his girlfriend stuff. Inuzuka spills that he's actually been thinking about telling her because she's his oldest friend. However, he's still on the fence about it. He's not sure how to go about it or what her reaction might be. Later, when everyone is asleep, Hasuki's up studying. Out of the blue, Maru shows up, a bit sneaky-like, with some apples he snatched from the kitchen for late-night snacks. He hands one over to Hasuki, who is continuously smiling. Maru can tell Hasuki's in a good mood and wonders if it's because of Inuzuka. This catches her off guard, but then she admits that Inuzuka's the reason she's smiling. Hasuki starts to share a bit of her past. She talks about how, as a kid, she was super smart, always acing her tests, but making friends was not so easy for her. Inuzuka, on the other hand, wasn't top of the class and didn't mind getting into fight, but he did not really care about having buddies or not. One day, Hasuki helps Inuzuka with his schoolwork, and he gets really good marks. This was the point when things changed for her. The other kids start to notice her because she helped Inuzuka out. They come up to her, wanting to be friends and all. That's why she kicked off these study sessions. It was all thanks to Inuzuka. He might have struggled with his lessons, but he was the one who unknowingly helped her break out of her shell and finally connect with others. Inuzuka is secretly listening from outside the window. And after Maru heads out, he pops in to ask Hasuki why she went through all that trouble for him. Caught up in the moment, Hasuki spills the beans and clearly tells the lucky guy that she is in love with him. And Inuzuka feels like he's got to be straight with her, so he tells her about him in Persia and how he can't return her feelings. Hasuki, in a wild burst of emotion, starts shouting their business to the whole world, and Inuzuka quickly covers her mouth to keep her quiet. Once she's cooled down a bit, she gets serious and says she'll stick by him as a buddy. She brings up this intense rule from their Black Doggies. If anyone from Black Doggies falls for someone from the White Cats, they have to quit their life by themselves. Determined to help him out, she grabs a prop sword and starts chasing him around, pretending to be all kinds of mad. While all this craziness is happening, Persia spots the wild scene from her room and decides to jump into the fray. She discovers that Hasuki is in the know about her and Inuzuka. Suddenly, she's right there behind Inuzuka, sword in hand, and a wave of jealousy hits her. She goes after Persia, but Char jumps in just in time to shield her. Char spills the beans too. She was on a mission to take down Inuzuka. Suddenly, Inuzuka is in a full sprint now, Persia in tow, feeling pretty down about not being able to calm down his best friend. However, Persia isn't having any of that mopey stuff. She pumps him up, convincing him to face things. Inuzuka squares off with Hasuki, declaring that no matter what goes down, they're still friends. In the heat of moment, he gets a hit on the head from Hasuki, but thankfully it turns out to be a fake sword. As if things couldn't get more out of hand, Persia takes a tumble off a cliff. Inuzuka does not think and jumps after her, even though swimming's not his thing. Seeing this, Char and Hasuki jump from the cliff and pull them both to safety. Hasuki gets angry with Inuzuka for jumping, but Inuzuka tells her that his body acted on its own. Listening to this, Hasuki gets tears in her eyes as she understands Inuzuka's love for Persia is just as strong as her feelings for him. In the end, she promises to zip her lips about their secret romance. A sports festival is coming up and everyone is training hard to win. On the other hand, Inuzuka and Persia are meeting and hiding. They are rather in an awkward position when he tells her that it's been a long time since they are dating and now he cannot control himself. Persia is so nervous hearing this but gets all bored when she realizes that Inuzuka is actually craving to eat something made by her. Listening to this, Persia hesitated at first, but anyhow she agreed. Later, Persia's in the dorm kitchen, trying her best. But she just can't cook. Everything she touches turns to charcoal. She really doesn't want to let Inuzuka down, so she shows up with this amazing looking basket of food, hoping to surprise him. Inuzuka's about to dig in when out of nowhere, Char busts in, green with jealousy. She slams her shoe down like she's stopping traffic and snatches the basket, booking it through the trees. As she is running, her plot gets snagged on a branch, and the basket goes flying and lands smack on Scott's head. Scott's grinning ear to ear, thinking Persia made this feast for them both. Inuzuka, feeling the sting of jealousy, gives Scott a kick and they start scrapping over the basket. During the tussle, the basket takes a nosedive straight into a pig pen, and just like that, it's a pig party. Everyone's looking rough after that, especially Inuzuka, who's on the verge of tears, saying sorry for the whole mess. Just then Persia drops a bombshell. She confesses that she never made the food in the first place. It was actually the dorm maid's handiwork. She'd been trying to cook, but nothing worked out, so she passed off the maid's cooking as her own to make Inuzuka happy. Inuzuka's feeling a bit bummed out when he finds out that the whole lunch crap was over something the maid made. With that, Persia pulls out these burnt cookies she actually made herself. Inuzuka gives them a try, and yep, they're pretty terrible. He can't help but crack up over how bad they are. And the whole situation just seems funny now. Persia's not laughing, though. She's upset because she feels like she's gotta be perfect all the time. Inuzuka's quick to comfort her, telling her she doesn't need to be perfect, especially not around him. He likes her just the way she is. Meanwhile, everyone's getting super pumped for the festival. Hasuki's eyeing Inuzuka and her buddies come up with this plan. They tell her to win the festival and become the MVP, and then ask Inuzuka to dance at the party. There's this belief going around that if you dance with the MVP, you're destined to be together forever. Hasuki's in a pickle, though, because how can she explain that's not the best idea without spilling the beans about Inuzuka's secret relationship? One of her friends, not picking up on the vibes, goes straight to Inuzuka and asks him if he'd dance with Hasuki at the party. Inuzuka's clueless about the whole superstition and just says yes, not thinking it's anything more than a friendly dance. After listening to this, Hasuki blushes hard and now she wants to become the MVP. Later, Inuzuka is just chilling out when, out of nowhere, Scott shows up with the rest of the White Cat's crew. They're all working hard, training for the festival. Scott's got his eyes on the prize because he's got this plan that if he wins, he'll get to dance with Persia and maybe they'll become an item. Inuzuka sees Scott and instantly gets this bad vibe. The two of them end up getting into a bit of a fight, and Yuzuka's about to throw a punch at Scott when this girl, Somali, jumps in. She's got some serious reflexes and stops in Yuzuka's punch cold with just her hand. Right after Somali, this guy with red hair shows up. That's Abai. It's pretty clear Somali's got a thing for him because she listens to everything he said. Turns out, Abai's a big deal. He's the leader of the White Cats and Persia's faction. However, Abai's got his own angle. He asks Persia to dance with him if he wins, hoping it'll help bring both their groups together. This idea gets under Scott and Yuzuka's skin, and they're both fuming with jealousy. However, Persia's not having any of it. She shoots Abai down, saying she's not into guys who are all about appearances. Later that night, Yuzuka gets this letter from Persia. She wants to meet up the next day for some practice. They're going to work on the three-legged race for the festival. Now, this race means they have to be super close to each other, which makes Yuzuka feel all glitchy. As they meet up and start practicing, Persia asks Yuzuka if he's feeling nervous about the festival, mentioning how the black dog is lost last year because of him. She reassures him that he can count on her. That's when it clicks for Yuzuka. Persia didn't just call him out to practice. She wanted to get him pumped for the festival, to show him they're in this together and to give him that boost of confidence he needed. The festival day we've been waiting for is here, and full of action. After a bunch of exciting matches, the two teams, the Black Doggies and White Cats, are totally tied. It's a draw after the first round. Later on, Yuzuka and Persia find a quiet spot to talk away from everyone else. Persia shares something huge. Her mom is actually there, watching the whole thing go down. And here's the kicker, if she wins, she is going to tell her dad, which is sure to make him super happy. She's feeling the pressure because she really wants to win, not just for herself, but to make her dad proud. She's even determined to beat everyone, and Yuzuka included. Later on, the second half of the festival starts and Persia's really bringing her a game. Suddenly, Somali waltzes in with this cheeky grin and stomps down on Abai's foot because Abai told her to. Shar catches the whole shady move and is definitely worried. But she shakes it off and keeps on competing like a champ, as if nothing's wrong. Next up, it's Persia and Hasuki's turn, and the stakes are through the roof. The White Cats are one win away from clinching the whole deal. They're both super pumped and declare they're not going down without a fight. They take off in a dash, racing like there's no tomorrow. However, Persia's struggling to get ahead, and out of nowhere, she just collapses. As Persia goes down on the ground, Yuzuka totally freaks out. He's about to rush over to her, but Char quickly intervenes and stops him because it'll just make things messier. While Yuzuka's held back, Scott and the White Cat crew zoom in to help Persia out. Just then, Abai shows up and he's being a total jerk, making fun of Persia and saying she blew their shot at a sure win. It's rough, and now even the crowd's starting to throw shade at her. Char's fuming and tells Abai he's going to regret it. With her foot all messed up, Persia's got no choice but to bail on the competition, and Yuzuka's feeling super guilty about it all. And Char spills the beans. It was Abai who had Somali target Persia's foot. He wants to turn everyone against Persia and take down her group so he can be the big boss of the clan. Meanwhile, Persia's sitting there, tears rolling down her cheeks, feeling like she's totally messed up. Just then, Yuzuka shouts from the other side of the door and tells her to not worry, just watch him, as is going to beat Abai and win this for their sake. The whole match is hanging in the balance, and it all comes down to this one last event called the Cavalry Battle. Yuzuka's super determined. He wants to be the one on top, riding Maru, so he can face off against Abai himself. As they're getting ready, they start squabbling about it. The game's already going full swing, and Hasuki's just killing it. She's grabbing ribbons from the White Cats, and they're getting disqualified one after another because of her. Suddenly, things take a weird turn. One of the girls on Yuzuka's team starts feeling all funny, and before you know it, Abai swoops in, steals her ribbon, and she's out of the game. She then notices it's not just her. Lots of the Black Doggies are having the same issue. Some are even falling asleep standing up, right in the middle of everything. It's like there's something in the air, making them all sleepy, and it's messing up the game big time. In the end, it's just Yuzuka and Maru left standing for the Black Doggy house, and things are looking pretty intense. They get this surprise boost when they see Julio, who's actually Persia in disguise, cheering them on from the sidelines. That's the push they need, and suddenly, they're in sync, working together like a dream team. They're taking down their opponents one by one, and it's just them and Abai's team left in the ring. Maru then drops a bombshell. He figured out Abai's sneaky plan. Abai had been slipping sleeping pills into the water, trying to knock out the Black Doggy team. Fortunately, Maru flipped the script and did the same to them, turning Abai's trick right back at him. Somali goes for a kick at Maru, but Yuzuka jumps in and blocks it. He notices her shoes have sharp spikes on them, and Yuzuka's blood boils, especially since those spikes had hurt Persia before. In a burst of rage, he hurls Abai way into the crowd, and just like that, Black Doggy takes the win. However, Yuzuka isn't about to take the win like that. He throws down a challenge to Persia for one final battle. It's all or nothing now. The tension is sky high, and everyone's on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who's going to come out on top in this epic showdown. As the big match kicks off, both Persia and Inuzuka are giving it their all. Even though Persia is feeling some pain, she doesn't let it stop her. When the audience sees her determination, they start cheering her on. However, Inuzuka isn't about to back down either. He goes for a bold move, trying to grab a ribbon from Persia's arm. However, she manages to dodge it just in the nick of time. Poor Inuzuka's hand accidentally ends up in a not-so-great spot, and he gets the classic anime nosebleed. Can you believe it? He's so shocked that he falls to the ground. Unfortunately, this mishap leads to his disqualification. With that, the White Cats end up winning the festival, with Persia earning the MVP title. The Black Doggies are understandably upset with Inuzuka for causing their team's loss. They decide to remove him as their leader and plan to give him a little punishment at the closing party. Later on, the party's in full swing and everyone's having a blast. Out of nowhere, Char pulls a sneaky one on Scott. She drags him off to the side, not to cut his hair, but to shave something else. Meanwhile, Inuzuka's feeling down, holding a plaque for the losing team by a fountain. That's when Persia limps over. She has an injured foot but still managed to slip away from the party. She wants to have a dance with Inuzuka right there by the fountain. They share a sweet moment, swaying to their own rhythm. Persia is really grateful to Inuzuka because he helped her make a comeback and win the festival. She makes a heartfelt promise to always have his back, and she wants to help him make things right with his black doggy pals. After all that festival stuff, Inuzuka decides to really push himself. He's working super hard for a whole month, not taking a break, and guess what? He ends up getting sick with a fever. Hasuki steps in to look after him for a bit. But here's the thing, she's also filling in for Inuzuka as the leader while he's out of action, so she's got a ton on her plate. She has to leave him on his own cause her new leader duties are calling. Poor Inuzuka's they're all hot and feverish while missing Persia. He's lying there wishing he could see her, and then he opens his eyes and sees Persia right there. However, she's dressed up like Julia while Inuzuka's mind is blown. He thinks he's dreaming because, well, why would Persia be there in his room but it's not a dream? Persia's actually there, taking care of him. She says it's her way of saying thanks for everything at the festival. While she's there, she notices Inuzuka's room is just a total mess. It's like a storage unit gone wild because everything just got dumped in there after he lost at the festival. Just then, Persia spots a magazine in the mix. Inuzuka's super embarrassed and tries to say it's his friend's. But Persia doesn't make a big deal out of it. She just decides to go get him some water. Persia's on a mission to find the cafeteria without anyone spotting her. She's kinda undercover, you know. Along the way, she's getting a feel for what life is like in the Black Doggy dorm, but she gets totally turned around and can't find her way back to Inuzuka's room. As she's wandering around, she bumps into Maru, and he's giving her this look like he's starting to figure out who she really is. Persia panics, accidentally drenches him with the water, and bolts. She's running like crazy, trying to find a good hiding spot, but luck is not on her side. She ends up bursting into the ladies' hot spring, and everyone there thinks she's a guy being a total creep. After that whole hot spring chaos, Persia is completely soaked and finally stumbles back to Inuzuka's room, feeling pretty out of it. She's dripping everywhere, so she switches into some dry clothes, while Inuzuka is turned away, all nervous about the weird situation. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. It's Inuzuka's friend, coming to get that magazine. Persia freaks out, forgets the door's locked, and dives under the covers to hide, which makes Inuzuka even more red. When Inuzuka's friend leaves, she checks his fever and, surprisingly, it's gone. He's feeling way better and is super grateful to Persia for taking care of him. Just then, Persia drops a little bombshell. She tells him she didn't even know he was sick. She came because she missed him so much. At Black Doggy's dorm's library, there are these two twin sisters, Kachu and Tyria, who are the monitors for the Black Doggies. They catch wind of this cool harvest festival that all the students are gonna enjoy. They decide to swing by Eru in Inuzuka's office. Turns out, he's the senior representative of the Black Doggies. They ask him to join in on the fun, but Eru straight up refuses. He thinks it's their duty as prefects to take care of everyone instead of having a good time. He then tells them to go inspect everything instead. On the other hand, Inuzuka stumbles upon Persia, who's all curled up under a bench, trying to stay out of sight. He asks her to check out the fireworks at the festival together. It's super risky because if someone spots them, it could spell trouble. They have this sweet little goodbye moment when Inuzuka steps out from his hiding spot. And those twin sisters, Kachu and Tyria, who were up in a tree trying to rescue a kitten, lose their balance and literally fall right on top of him. Inuzuka's not amused and treats them like they're just a couple of kids causing trouble. Just then, Hasuki shows up and clears the air, telling Inuzuka that these twins are actually his monitors. They're getting suspicious, thinking Inuzuka was having some secret chat under the bench. To wiggle out of the situation, and Yuzuka comes up with this wild story about talking to his aunt's friends, making the twins think he's just a lonely dude who talks to bugs. Okay, so here's what goes down next. And Yuzuka breathes out a huge sigh of relief, thinking he's finally shaken off those nosy twins. But guess what? When he gets back to his room, there they are, grilling him about why he's got this cross necklace from the white class. And Yuzuka starts to sweat bullets, getting all nervous because they're onto him, thinking he's definitely hiding something. They make up their minds to tail him during the festival to see what he's up to. Festival day rolls around, and Teary is itching to join in on the fun. But Kachu tells her that they are here on a mission to keep an eye on the students. They start their detective work, hunting high and low for Yuzuka. Meanwhile, Yuzuka's sneaking around and finally meets up with Persia, who's tucked away in a bush. They're in a real pickle, trying to shake off the twins. They end up squished together inside a barrel, and the close quarters have them both freaking out a little, worried about being so close to each other. And Yuzuka peeks through a little hole and notices the twin sisters looking kind of down. He gets it. They just want to have some fun, so he pops out of the barrel and tells Persia to hang tight for a sec. He goes over to the twins and asks them to play some games. He challenges them to this game competition, and they're all in. The twins start having a blast, totally forgetting to keep an eye on Yuzuka. With the twins distracted, Yuzuka dashes off to find Persia before the big fireworks start, but he's too late. When he gets there, Persia's all miffed because she got left in the barrel and could only see the fireworks through that tiny hole. Yuzuka's feeling terrible, so he apologizes, but then Persia laughs and says that she is just messing with him. She wasn't really mad and tells that even though they missed the fireworks together, she thought it was super sweet how he helped the monitors enjoy the festival. To make up for the missed moment, they find some portable fireworks and set them off, just the two of them. It's their own little celebration, and they get to enjoy this special time together. A week before Persia's birthday, Yuzuka learns that the twins have errands on Dahlia Street and offers to go instead. He really wants to sneak off to find Persia a gift. While out, he spots a cute white kitten and thinks it's the perfect present, but Char spots it too, and they both want it so badly that they end up ripping it apart in the tussle. Just then, a cop shows up, worried about a princess being alone in a busy area. To throw the cop off, she makes Yuzuka pretend to be her bodyguard. Char sees her chance and makes a deal with Yuzuka. She'll stop causing a scene and help him pick out the best gift for Persia if he plays along and pretends to be her escort. With that, Yuzuka and Char team up to find a present for Persia, but Char drags him into a shop, which totally embarrasses Yuzuka. She starts picking out some fancy plot for Persia, but they can't agree on which one is just right. They end up leaving without buying anything when it suddenly starts to pour. The rain makes Char's shirt stick to her, and she teases Yuzuka, suggesting he should ditch Persia. However, Yuzuka isn't having it and just gives her a light tap on the forehead. Char decides to bail on gift shopping and leave it for another day, which lets Yuzuka off the hook from having to stick around with her. On her way back, Char thinks about how everyone always treated her like a princess, spoiling her except for Persia, who always kept it real with her, calling her out when she needed it. She realizes Yuzuka is kind of the same, not fussing over her title and telling her like it is. While Char was walking alone, she got jumped by two guys from a rival country in an alley. She managed to fight off one, but just as she was about to deal with the second, Yuzuka showed up. The attacker thought Yuzuka was there to help him, but Yuzuka decked him instead, saying he is with the princess. Char is confused why Yuzuka helped her, but he said he did it because Persia would be upset if anything happened to her. Char later admits she is a bit green with jealousy because Persia chose to spend her birthday with Yuzuka and had asked Char to pretend to be her at work, keeping her end of the bargain. Char gives Yuzuka a cute white plot with kitten patterns to give to Persia, saying it's perfect for her. That night, Yuzuka gets another secret message from Persia and they meet up at the library. He asks her what she wants for her birthday, and she says she'd love something they can both wear together. After leaving the library, Yuzuka is super excited and can't wait to get home. When he gets there, he comes across his big brother Eru. Eru finds a locket in Yuzuka's room and grills him about it. Yuzuka's tongue-tied and can't come up with an answer, but Hasuki jumps in. She covers for him, saying she wanted something sparkly, and Yuzuka, not being the sharpest tool in the shed, got her the locket. Yuzuka breathes a sigh of relief, grateful for Hasuki's quick thinking. However, Eru pulls out a strange hat and wants to know where it came from. Yuzuka's stuck again, especially since Eru isn't exactly experienced with girls. He glances at Hasuki for help, but this time she's ticked off and won't bail him out. Eru gives Yuzuka a hard stare and asks if he's been hanging out with any white cat girls, because that's a big no and could bring shame to their family. Hasuki steps up to defend Yuzuka when the tension rises, but Eru turns on her, threatening that she'll be in trouble too if she's involved. Yuzuka jumps in, insisting on Hasuki's innocence. However, it just makes Eru mad, and he grabs Inuzuka by the neck, scolding him for always making excuses. Just then Tyria clings to Inuzuka, refusing to let go even when Eru tells her to, and Kachu starts smacking Eru, saying he can't act like this at school. Eru finally backs off but warns Inuzuka he'll be watching him for a whole week, and any funny business will land Inuzuka in hot water. After Eru storms off, Inuzuka is left sitting there, stressed out because Persia's birthday is just around the corner and they wanted to celebrate together. Next day, Persia's in the White Cat's kitchen trying her hand at making cookies. She nails a batch that looks awesome. The chef's hesitant to try them but ends up loving them, saying they're super delicious. Persia's really grateful and thanks the chef big time. The chef reminds her it's all thanks to her hard work and skipping time with friends. Char gets a taste of the cookies and is all about them, and Scott's super happy with the leftovers. Char wonders if Persia's baking for Inuzuka and Persia blushes, admitting she wants to be an ace cook for him. Persia sees Inuzuka walking with Eru and some others in the garden and everyone's looking. Inuzuka seems a bit scared, and Kachu thinks maybe he and his brother Eru don't get along so well. She's only seen Eru mad with the White Cats or when he's punishing someone. Suddenly, a paper airplane hits Eru on the head. The guys who threw it are super sorry, but Eru just squishes the plane, makes it into a cooler one, and gives it back, which makes them really happy. Kachu thinks Eru is actually nice deep down, but Inuzuka doesn't think so. He's never felt that from Eru, remembering how Eru liked using the paddle to discipline. Now, Eru is always with Inuzuka, correcting his homework roughly, watching him eat, and even staying close when he's in the bathroom. Eru and Inuzuka are walking, and they see Persia. Inuzuka wants to stop but doesn't. The day before Persia's birthday, instead of relaxing, Eru makes Inuzuka practice kendo. Scott and the other guys are busy getting ready for Persia's party. Hasuki sees Inuzuka getting knocked down a lot, but Eru keeps making him get back up. Maru and his friends notice Inuzuka is acting weird. Hasuki feels bad and helps him walk back, surprised he isn't causing any trouble. Inuzuka says he is just pretending to keep Eru from suspecting anything because he still plans to see Persia. Hasuki is worried he'll get expelled if they get caught, but Inuzuka promises she won't get in trouble. Hasuki hugs him because she doesn't want him to get kicked out. Inuzuka says he won't and goes to wash up. Late at night, Inuzuka tiptoes out, aiming for the fountain to see Persia. He figures his brother must be asleep and the guards aren't due for a while, so he's got a tiny window to celebrate and return undetected. As he leaves the gate, his brother's voice freezes him in his tracks. Turning around, there's his brother right at the gate. He'd seen through Inuzuka's act. His eyes gave away his true feelings. His brother urges him to go back, but Inuzuka digs deep and refuses. Eru steps forward, telling Inuzuka he doesn't want to fight and that Inuzuka shouldn't even try. However, Inuzuka swings a heavy punch that Eru blocks easily, and then Eru hits him in the stomach, calling him weak. Inuzuka tries to punch again, but Eru dodges and quickly hits Inuzuka in the face 3 times, knocking him out cold. Eru then picks up Inuzuka, tosses him into a shed, and says he'll deal with him later as he locks the door. Inuzuka, hurting all over, struggles to his feet. Suddenly, Kachu and Tyria open the door, saying Eru's gone. Inuzuka grins, having expected this. He convinced the twins the night before to play along with his plan to trick Eru, so he could sneak out of the school for a couple of hours, just like they used to do when they were kids. Initially, Kachu is hesitant, worried it's too risky, but Tyria agrees, curious to see Inuzuka tackle the big wall. As Inuzuka gives her a thankful hug, Kachu also gives in. Fast forward to now, Inuzuka thanks them once more and heads out. Kachu reminds him to hurry, warning of the trouble if they're caught. Inuzuka nods and dashes off toward the fountain, his mind on celebrating with Persia. Despite feeling sore from the earlier fight, he makes it to Persia and collapses, exhausted, into her arms. Inuzuka wonders why Persia isn't at the fountain where they were supposed to meet. Persia, sounding upset, says she came to stop him from getting in trouble with his brother, but she's too late. Inuzuka asks how she found out about his plan, and she says Hasuki told her. She's really sad because Inuzuka got hurt trying to see her. Inuzuka tries to make a joke, saying he won't get kicked out, but Persia knows things are bad and starts crying, feeling it's her fault. Inuzuka tries to make her feel okay, but she just says she's sorry for something she's about to do. In the morning, Scott sets up a school meeting to tell everyone to be on time. He talks about Persia's grand entrance with smoke and a swing chair, followed by a band and then her birthday surprise. When someone asks about the black dogs and their pie throwing, Scott says he'll handle them. Out of nowhere, Inuzuka knocks Scott down and starts looking for Persia. He sees her with Char, but she suddenly walks the other way, ignoring him. Inuzuka chases her, and she speeds up, but he corners her and acts like Spider-Man to stop her. She tells him to leave because she doesn't want Eru to catch them, but Inuzuka says Eru's in class, so it's safe to celebrate her birthday. However, she pushes him back, saying she doesn't want to be in the relationship anymore, and runs off, leaving him on the ground. Hasuki and her buddy find Inuzuka looking really down on the ground and help him to the nurse's office. He's on the bed, and when Hasuki asks what's up, Inuzuka's just not himself. He says he doesn't want to talk, do anything, or even be around anymore. Hasuki decides they should ditch class and head to the game room for some fun. It's empty there, and Inuzuka wonders if it's cool for a brainy girl like Hasuki to skip class. She's chill about it and suggests playing pool. Inuzuka's clueless about the game, but Hasuki shows him the ropes and hands him the cue stick. Inuzuka gives it a go, but he totally flubs it and hits the wrong ball, which makes Hasuki blush. They switch it up and go outside to hang with the sheep. Hasuki's all about petting them, while Inuzuka tries to keep up as they scatter. Hasuki hands him some feed for the sheep, but they all crowd her and knock her over, making her laugh for the first time in a while. Later, Inuzuka's up on the clock tower just chilling and Hasuki's there too, but she gets sleepy. She almost takes a tumble, but Inuzuka's quick and grabs her, saving her from falling. Hasuki's heart starts racing like crazy, so she hits her head against the wall to calm down. Inuzuka sees a warning sign and it makes him think of Persia, which bums him out again. In the White Cat dorm, Persia's looking at the locket Inuzuka gave her when Char pops in, reminding her about the party. She spots cookies on Persia's desk and asks why Persia hasn't given them to Inuzuka yet. Persia says they're actually for Char, but Char doesn't buy it and pushes for the real story. Persia confesses she thinks being with Inuzuka is just hurting him, and she hates that. Char then gives her a comforting hug. Inuzuka's acting all happy, bouncing around, and thanking Hasuki for cheering him up, but she's not buying it and tells him she's known him long enough to know when he's faking it. Inuzuka can't even look at her, and then Hasuki starts to cry, feeling like she's not enough for him, even though she wishes she was. Inuzuka tries to say that's not the case, but Hasuki tells that she is okay, even as she's wiping away her tears. Inuzuka feels super bad for making her cry and starts hitting himself, but Hasuki jumps in to stop him. Out of the blue, they both end up laughing it off. Suddenly, Char jumps down from the tree and surprises them both. She goes straight to Hasuki and gives her a little tap, saying she should have told Inuzuka how she felt a long time ago. That way, none of this mess with Persia would have happened. Inuzuka's worried about Char, but she just hands over a bag of cookies and says they're from Persia. She wanted to give them to him the day before but couldn't, so now Char's doing it for her. She also says she's not going to the party and leaves. Inuzuka starts eating the cookies and can't help but cry because they taste so good. He remembers the first time Persia tried to make them and how he thought they were so bad he could get sick. However, now they're perfect, and he knows she must have worked really hard to make them just for him. Seeing Inuzuka feeling better, he takes off his bandages and says he's ready for his big plan. He tells Hasuki to get ready for throwing pies. Hasuki reminds him that school's out and they might get caught by Eru, but Inuzuka doesn't care. He wants Eru to see everything. Persia is getting some advice from the student council president when suddenly a guy comes in and shouts about some dogs with pies downstairs. It turns out Inuzuka is there with the dogs, ready to celebrate Persia's birthday with a surprise. Persia wants to go see, but the president stops her. Inuzuka is thinking he'll cause a big scene and then grab Persia, wish her a happy birthday, and get a big hug from her. He shouts for Persia, but then Scott steps in with his friends, also holding pies, and tells him to back off or he'll get pied. Before he can finish, Hasuki hits him with a pie, and suddenly everyone's throwing pies at each other like crazy. Inuzuka is on his way upstairs, eager to surprise Persia for her birthday, leaving Hasuki in charge. She's worried but then gets hit in the face with a pie by Scott, who's so disliked that even his friends think he's the worst. Inuzuka can't find Persia and tries to get help from Char, but she's too upset about her ruined party to assist him. He decides to leave her alone and ends up lost in the hallway. That's when Somali startles him, and he runs into Abby, who looks like he's been living on the streets. Abby tells Inuzuka that he's been out on his own since being exposed for cheating at the sports festival, and that he's still upset with Inuzuka for defeating him. Inuzuka tries to get away, but Somali's super strong and won't let him. Inuzuka cleverly makes her think Abby's getting too much of her attention. Fooled, Somali with her tiny brain goes and gives Abby a massive hug. Inuzuka uses this chance to dash upstairs, but then he's swarmed by a bunch of White Cat boys. They all leap at him, but he manages to slip away through a gap in the attic, where the president of the group is hiding and offers him a spot to lay low. Inuzuka's not sure what's up with this odd guy and asks why he's helping him. Inuzuka decides he's had enough of this weird guy and makes a break for it downstairs. However, the guy stops him again, saying he'll spill where Persia is hiding. He points Inuzuka to the upper floor, the corner room, and tells him to hurry up. Just then Saber, another school enforcer, shows up and puts an end to the escape. He even hits the president on the head for ratting out Persia's hiding spot. Saber tells Inuzuka that his friends have been caught by Rex, the muscle man, and he should just give up. Inuzuka's not about to quit, though, and that's when he notices the president getting all intense and a scary vibe fills the air. Back in her room, Persia's trying to bust out by chucking chairs at the door, but it's no use, she's stuck. Thinking about how far Inuzuka would go to see her, she's determined to do the same and swings open the window to find a way out. Inuzuka's in the hallway getting roughed up by the president, who shoves him against the wall. Inuzuka tries to strike back, but the president knocks him down with a strong kick, and hits him again when he tries to stand. The president warns him to give up to avoid embarrassment, but Inuzuka stands his ground and tries a kick of his own. The president dodges it and lands another kick to Inuzuka's face, sending him reeling. Inuzuka is panting and realizes the president is super strong, and his classmates really believe in him. He understands now why these guys are prefects. They're just on another level with their brains and brawn. Inuzuka knows he can't beat them as he is. He's trying to figure out how to take on this guy, who fights differently from Eru. When he hears Persia's voice, it pumps him up, and he charges at the president, whipping off his blazer and tossing it at him. The president swats it aside, but while he's distracted, Inuzuka manages to loop his belt around the president's legs, tying them up so he can't kick. The president is caught off guard and actually seems to enjoy Inuzuka's clever move. While he's still taking it in, Inuzuka dashes for the window and leaps out, leaving everyone in the room stunned. Looking up, he sees Persia reaching out for him. She grabs his hand and helps him up, while Scott searches the room only to find Inuzuka has vanished. Over at the Black Dog Student Council, Kachu bursts in to tell Eru that the first-year students are causing a ruckus at Persia's birthday bash. Eru puts the pieces together and decides it's time to step in himself. At the White Cat dorm, Inuzuka wonders how Persia got to the balcony since she was supposed to be somewhere else. She tells him she just climbed out a window and crawled over. Inuzuka can't believe she did something so crazy, but she's upset with him for sneaking into the dorm and taking such a big risk just to see her. She's so worried that she starts to cry. Inuzuka just wants to hold her and wish her a happy birthday. When Persia asks if causing such a huge stir was all for a birthday wish, Inuzuka being simp agrees. Inuzuka tells her that he can deal with getting hurt, but the thought of her saying no to him feels like it would swallow him whole. She starts to smack him, telling him she can't stand the thought of him getting hurt, but he just wraps her in a hug. She then looks at him and admits she loves him, which brings tears to Inuzuka's eyes. She reflects on their journey at the school, realizing Inuzuka has proved that when you really want to be with someone, nothing can stand in your way. Meanwhile, Eru has shown up at the dorm, and the Black Dog crew is dead silent, sitting on the floor, scared of their leader. Eru tells Hasuki to keep everyone put while he looks for Inuzuka. Some of Maru's buddies try to dodge trouble and make a break for it. The moment they open the door, they come face to face with the most terrifying glare that sends them tumbling. There is this super buff guy who introduces himself as Rex, and he's on the student council. He's all about being the strongest and the cutest in school. The two scaredy cats are shaking in their boots when he challenges them to a cuteness contest. They've got no choice but to accept. They try doing a dance to look adorable, but Rex isn't having it and tells them it's not cute at all. They end up hiding behind Hasuki, who's also freaked out by Rex's muscles. Just then Maru pops up and tells his pals to head back to their room. They tease Maru, asking if he was worried about them. Maru says no way, but Rex can't help but admit that he thinks Maru's concern is actually pretty cute. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes are on Persia and Inuzuka as they charge at each other, pies ready to smash. They smack into each other, both getting a face full of pie. Persia warns Inuzuka that she won't let him off easy if he tries this again next year. Inuzuka, on the other hand, tells his buddies that a tie is as good as a win for them, and it's time to make a run for it. Char grins as the Black Dog crew dashes out, and Inuzuka is feeling pretty good about their escape until Eru steps in and stops them cold. Inuzuka gets a jolt of fear but tries to play it cool for Persia's sake, asking his brother what's up, since throwing pie at the other side isn't really breaking any rules. Eru climbs the stairs and gets right up in Inuzuka's face, dropping the bomb that he's onto the secret romance between Inuzuka and Persia. Inuzuka's totally floored, and the other students are scratching their heads, clueless about what's going down. Persia steps up though, playing it cool, and tells Eru there's no way she'd date someone from the Black Dog side. She challenges him to show proof, and her friends back her up. Eru pulls out a necklace he found in Inuzuka's room and accuses him of breaking the rules just to celebrate Persia's birthday, something he figured out from a date marked on Inuzuka's calendar. Persia's not having it and says that doesn't prove a thing. Anyone can mark a date or buy a necklace. Eru then whips out a plastic bag with a funky hat he found in Inuzuka's room. The whole crowd gasps, and Persia can't hide her shock, giving Inuzuka a look like she's grossed out, wondering where he got that hat. Char suddenly remembers she slipped the hat into Inuzuka's room as a prank. They're all about to dive into that mess when the White Cat president steps in with his cheery vibe, trying to calm things down. However, Eru's not having any of it and snaps at him to stay out of it. The president reminds Eru he's on White Cat turf and tells him to take a hike. He then turns to Persia, looking for some answers to the chaos, but Persia's just standing there, totally lost for words. Eru's gotten Yuzuka by his shirt and is dragging him back to the dorm, and Yuzuka's mind is racing, thinking about all the stuff they've been through, and he can't believe it's crashing down like this. He opens his mouth to call out to her, but there's a sword in his hands. Up on the balcony, Persia's standing there, saying she won't stand for these nasty rumors and tells Yuzuka to get ready for a showdown right now. Yuzuka sees the swords are the real deal and looks up at Persia. She's all about her honor, saying it's worth more to her than her own life, and she's ready to throw down in a serious duel. Yuzuka's thinking this is nuts, they could really get hurt, but Persia's not waiting around. She lunges at him, and he's got no choice but to block her and pull out his own sword. Eru tells Persia to stop messing around, but Persia won't quit until everyone knows the truth. She keeps going after Yuzuka, even as Eru says she'll get in trouble. Yuzuka realizes Persia is seriously not holding back. She tells him to go all out, since she always wanted to be treated the same as him. Yuzuka gets tough and says it's all or nothing, but Persia dares him to really try or she'll take him down. They rush at each other, swords clashing, super close to each other, and everyone watching can't believe what they're seeing. Everyone hangs out near the nurse's office later, no longer worried, realizing that even people in love can have a big scrap. Yuzuka wakes up feeling good and Persia tells him to go slow as they explain they aimed for their lockets during the fight to avoid real harm. Persia is so relieved she starts crying. And then Yuzuka shows her the ring he bought for them. He's decided to step up to be a prefect so they can be together without hiding. He puts the ring on her finger while she hugs him tight and calls him her boyfriend. A few days on, they're grounded to their rooms for a week. Hasuki's ticked off at Yuzuka for his crazy move, and Char's giving Persia the heads up not to pull that again. Later, they sneak off for a secret meetup on a boat in the middle of a lake, and Yuzuka shares with Persia that his bro is still kinda wary, but didn't say no to him wanting to be a prefect. Persia's all grateful and talks about sticking together forever, which gets Yuzuka so hyped that he falls right into the lake. Persia, once again, comes to his rescue, both hoping they can soon date out in the open. Thanks for watching till this long, my fellow men of culture. Don't forget to tell us about your favorite waifu from this anime and subscribe to the channel for more content.